Okay guys, let me break down for you the latest scandal in the world of chess. Whether Hikaru Nakamura has legal problems preventing him from participating in the candidates tournament. So let me give you a quick backstory. So first of all, this is the list of FIDE candidates 2026. Very soon this tournament will start. By the way, half of them have already been guests on my podcast. I'm eager to see others of them joining the ranks of my guests, and Hikaru Nakamura is number one rated among the candidates, and many believe him to be one of the favorites. So that's what was supposed to happen. But there is one but. There is one thing, one argument that could prevent him from participating in the candidates. Let me give you some details. So first of all, take a look at this list. This was published on the FIDE X Twitter page on the 1st of March 2026. FIDE rating list top 10 for March. Magnus obviously is number one, as always. Hikaru is number two. And on the 10th position is none other than the notorious Sergei Karyakin, who is a Russian chess player who was banned by FIDE because his controversial remarks about the war in Ukraine and about Ukrainians. I personally find those remarks distasteful and horrible, and I think that the ban was very understandable. He was banned for some time, and after that he did not return to competitive chess. It was in 2022 that he was banned, and he was an inactive player. He had been an inactive player until the 1st of March, when the new ratings came out, and he suddenly was rated again. He had the rating of 2750 before that. Then if you don't play for 1 year official FIDE rated classical games, you get kicked out of the FIDE ratings. That's why Dean Liren, for example, is not in the FIDE classical ratings anymore since recently. So Karyakin is back in top 10 because 2750 is top 10 currently. Why? Because he played some exhibition match against some young kid, like 10 years old, some Russian kid who's rated like around 2000. He beat the kid 2 times, and the organizers of this match, which was called something like Russian Chess Crown, they submitted the documents to FIDE saying that we have this match, please rate it according to the FIDE regulations. And Karyakin is now back allowed to play because the ban was temporary. I think it ended long ago. The ban was like for a year or something, like 4 years already passed since the beginning of this war, horrible war. And yeah, and Karyakin was rated again active. He did not gain any rating points by beating this kid. He just stayed at the same rating because the rating gap was so big. But still, it was sensational news. Also, recently I had a podcast with Oleg Skvortsov, a chess investor, philanthropist, who wanted to organize a new match between Karyakin and Magnus Carlsen. And he said that it could be interesting because, like, politically, East versus West, new Cold War is going on, so this could draw spectators. Probably he's right, even though it's like, I'm not sure whether I want to give some platform to Karyakin, but this match could draw viewership, definitely, I believe. So that's the story, like that's the first backstory. But then take a look at another tweet by FIDE. They tweeted, FIDE March 2026 rating list correction. According to this article of FIDE rating regulations, a tournament must be registered no later than 30 days before the tournament starts if one of the players in the tournaments is rated in excess of 2700. That is exactly the case with Karyakin. So the normal tournaments should be registered like 3 days in advance to be counted for FIDE ratings. But if you have a top player, you have to do it in advance. I don't understand the reasoning why this should be the case. Well, probably that FIDE wants to monitor all tournaments, something like that. Okay. They have the right to do so. They have their regulations. Everybody says that they want to play by the rules, so they submit the documents. The problem with this match, with the Russian Chess Crown match, it was initially included in March 2026 FIDE rating list, as FIDE says, in breach of these regulations, because the submission was not done in advance. Like, it was done like several days in advance, but not a month in advance. And now they found this error, they say, and the qualification commission removed the event from the FIDE rating system. So this was no longer a rated event by FIDE, and Karyakin now is no longer an active player because he never played a game that was rated by FIDE last year, or even like over the last several years. I think he played some Blitz and Rapid events, maybe he's rated there, but not in Classical. The new rating list for March, funnily enough, has Gukesh D, Domraj Gukesh, the reigning world chess champion, on number 10. Since then, Gukesh has dropped some ratings. Unfortunately, his bad streak continues in Prague. He has lost a bunch of games, and he's now 27-35, I think. So he's like around number 20, I think, in the world. But as of the beginning of the March, he used to be number 10 in the world. Instead of Karyakin. Karyakin is back to inactive. If he plays like some tournament next month, for example, he'll be back. If this tournament is properly registered, submitted in advance, stuff like that. So that's the backstory, because Vladimir Kramnik, another notorious personality from the world of chess, wrote a tweet that he suddenly realized there is an issue with forthcoming candidates. By the way, I'm blacklisted by Kramnik after our podcast episode where I post some uncomfortable questions for him, and he didn't like some things that I said and did not include in the podcast. You can check out the episode. It's a very, very interesting piece of content. So I'm blacklisted, but I can read the tweets because Twitter allows this. And Kramnik says basically here that the problem is that Hikaru Nakamura doesn't have the 40 rated games, the minimum number of games in 2025, to be eligible to participate in the candidates, because there are several qualification paths for the candidates tournament, and Hikaru qualified by rating because he was number 1, except for Magnus, but Magnus did not play the required 40 games in classical chess that year. So he was number 1 among all players who met this requirement, 40 rated games, FIDE rated games, classical games. But the thing is, Hikaru did not have the minimal required number before the end of the year. He played those Mickey Mouse events, as he called himself, those events. He played several small events like Louisiana State Open Championship, some other state championship. And then the third one was Maritime Open, an open tournament in Canada. Most of the players were like amateurs or close to, I don't know, my level, maybe some candidate masters, FIDE masters, and Hikaru Nakamura, number 1 seeded, who defeated everyone, made 1 draw, and won the tournament. So that's the story. And that was the tournament that allowed him to clinch the candidate spot, because he managed to fulfill this requirement. He got the 40 minimal games. Otherwise, he didn't play much in 2025. He played the Norway Chess Tournament, and he played the American Cup, if I'm not mistaken. That's all he played. And the 3 Mickey Mouse tournaments, including the last one, Maritime Open. And Kramnik says that any tournament with players 2700 plus must be registered at least 30 days before start to be rated by FIDE. That's exactly the norm that I showed to you already before. And based on open source information, Maritime Open wasn't. Kramnik says that this means that the tournament shouldn't be counted for rating unless, in accordance with FIDE regulations, it wasn't decided otherwise by FIDE president. I will show you the FIDE regulations. By the way, my first job that I have a formal education to do this job, and I did it. I had been doing it for several years before going full-time content creation mode. My job is a lawyer. I used to be an associate at a couple of prominent international law firms, and I had been practicing law for several years, more than 5 years, before going for the content creation job. And I have some experience and qualifications to analyze the FIDE documents. So we will do that shortly, but let me finish the logic of Kramnik. for him. So let me just read it out. He wrote everything quite logically, I have to say. So he says that even though I'm not, spoiler alert, I disagree with some minor things in this tweet that I will talk about. So he says that so Kraken was excluded from the list because of exactly this norm, this provision, and therefore, if sticking to law, unless FIDE president personally signed this permission to count Maritime Open before it was counted, I doubt it, Kramnik says. It can be counted for rating, and in this case, Nakamura lacks enough games to qualify for the candidates, and then the next should be Nodirbek Abdusatorov, because he was the second in the FIDE circuit 2025. By the way, I haven't checked the regulations on this. I'm not sure if the second place of the circuit 2025 should be necessarily the person to replace Hikaru, because maybe it should be the second place of FIDE circuit 2024, because both of those circuits were qualification paths for the candidates. In 2024, the winner of the circuit was Fabiano Caruano, and he qualified. And in 2025, the winner was Pragnananda Ramesh Babu, and he also qualified. So, and number 2 in 2024 was Arjun Regaisi, guest of my podcast, by the way, just like Prag and Fabi. And in 2025, number 2 was Nodirbek Abdusatorov, who, like all of these guys, are very strong and fully deserving of participation in the candidates, in my opinion. But Kramnik says that Nodirbek is 10 times more deserving than Hikaru. I don't know why. Why 10 times? Maybe because Kramnik was the coach of Uzbekistani team and has good relations with Nodirbek. I don't know. No. Definitely Nodirbek is on a roll currently and has a streak of great performances, but I'm not sure about the 10 times more deserving part. So the question that Kramnik poses to FIDE is, do you guys have the written permission by Mr. Dvorkovich, who is the head of FIDE, the president of FIDE? If you don't, then you should do something. And later in some tweets, Kramnik suggested that maybe like kicking Nakamura out of the event would be too harsh, but maybe you could include also Nodirbek and Arjun, which is a peculiar suggestion. But if you believe that Hikaru's qualification path has been flawed, then maybe you can make a case for such a suggestion. But now, as a lawyer, I will take a look at the document itself, at the FIDE handbook, which I found on the FIDE website. Permanent commissions, FIDE rating regulations, qualification commission, FIDE rating regulations, effective from the 1st of March 2024. So this is 0.2 is the clause that we are interested in. So this is this clause, not the whole clause. I will show you the relevant parts. So the tournament must be registered, and by registered here it means registered for calculation of ratings by FIDE, because this is FIDE rating regulations, specifically about calculating ratings. So the tournament that should be rated must be registered not later than 30 days before the tournament starts if one of the players in the tournament is rated in excess of 2700 for men. For female players, interestingly enough, it's 2500, probably because top female players have 2500 plus ratings and top male players have 2700 plus ratings currently. We don't have the second Judith Polgar currently, unfortunately. Maybe we will someday. So otherwise, the tournaments must be registered 3 days before the tournament starts. So if you don't have a Hikaru Nakamura or a Fabiano Caruano or any other Super GM playing in the tournament, you can register your own tournament 3 days in advance. And it is good enough. And there is an important clause here. Why has Kramnik written about Dvorkovich, FIDE president? Where did he find this idea? Well, it's in here as well. This clause. Exceptions to permit tournaments to be rated even though it is registered later than the prescribed notice period may be granted. And 0.2.3 relates to events where there are super gems, tournaments in category 0.2.1 with the approval of the president. So with the approval of the president, there may be granted an exception to permit tournaments to be rated even though it is registered later than the prescribed notice period. And yeah, and there is also a point about exceptional cases. where the FIDE council or FIDE president has the right to make a decision to rate the tournaments or individual games that even have not been submitted by the national federation. Later, I will show you that this one has been submitted by the national federation, so this clause about exceptional cases does not apply. So probably this one should apply, or those ones should apply. 0.1, 0.2.1, or 0.2.2, or 0.2.3. So now we have a question. I have a question as a lawyer. How to interpret those provisions? Because what if you have an event, for example, like, I don't know, a small town in Russia has an open blitz tournament, and Yan Nepomniachtchi is traveling through Russia with his friends and somehow decides, okay, for fun, I'll play in this blitz event in let's say, Saratov, which is a small town, relatively small provincial place in Russia. And he goes there, registers, and plays. The event was submitted for this hypothetical scenario. I'm not saying about some particular event, but this definitely has happened already. This has happened, definitely, 100%, not just with Hikaru. Like, some top guy is traveling and wants to play with mere mortals, just for fun, why not? Or maybe, I don't know, he has a bet, a wager, or something like this, or he's bored, or I don't know, maybe for sentimental purposes, maybe this is his hometown. And Yan Nepomniachtchi, in this hypothetical scenario, enrolls in the tournament a couple of days before it starts. The tournament has already been registered. The submission has been done 3 days before the tournament starts, but not a month before the tournament starts, because the organizers never dreamed of Yan Nepomniachtchi playing in their Saratov Open Blitz Championship, for example. What to do in this case? Should the results be annulled, or should we request the FIDE president's approval to grant an exception to permit this tournament to be rated, even though it is registered later than the prescribed notice period? Is this considered a late registration if you registered, to the best of your knowledge, correctly the event like 3 days before the tournament started, or even like a week, so in advance, but you didn't know that there will be these top guys? I think most likely it should be considered, by the way, in accordance with the rules, because you didn't know. It's illogical. Like, should you prohibit then top players to come and play some local events because of this rule? Because otherwise, like, they will not be rated. If you interpret like Kremnik this provision, I don't interpret this provision like Kremnik does. I think that it should be done like you get the approval if there are no 2700s who enrolled in advance, you get the approval like you do for normal tournaments, 3 days in advance. And then if later 2700s come and ask to play, they should be allowed, but the approval has already been granted, but it has been granted on the basis of the other rule, because there was no knowledge about 2700s. That, I believe, is the most logical interpretation of this clause, even though this is debatable. But still, if you adhere to a more rigid interpretation of this clause, of this rule, and you believe, okay, if there is a 2700, then you need the 30 days in advance approval, or you need an exception, then you should need the approval of the president. But in which form? These regulations do not say anything about the form, which is important. It can be oral form, like you call you work at FIDE Qualification Commission, you are some employee of FIDE, and you call Dvorkovich, or you write an email, boss, please say, can we rate this tournament? Something like that, probably. So does it work like that? Or should it be a formal document that is signed and is like stamped and posted somewhere officially? Kremnik expects this, probably. So there is no rule here. This is called a legal lacune, a legal gap. So you can interpret it in different ways. You can, well, probably if Kramnik is so intent on disallowing Hikaru from playing, he should, I don't know, launch a formal complaint and sue FIDE for violation of these rating regulations that FIDE itself published. but I don't think that he will succeed because, like, honestly, this is not legal advice because I'm not qualified in FIDE laws. This is some very narrow field of law. Maybe I'm not, maybe I don't know some other regulations, but this does not seem like the case. And also, I've done some research and I found actually the page of Maritime Chess Festival Open Championship 2025, published on the FIDE website. So this was held in October 2025 from 11th until the 13th. And the date received, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the date when FIDE received the documents, the submission to hold this event, the date received is 2025, the 27th of October, because I don't know, because probably, I don't know, maybe because they had this this thing with Hikaru. Why is the date received is later than date registered? Well, date registered is 24th of September. Maybe this is some mistake. Maybe this is the typo. So yeah, but according to this page on the FIDE website, they decided to rate this event. This event is published here. This is rated for November 2025 as standard. But I don't know whether Dvorkovich had any say in deciding to rate this event or not. And I am not even sure if he should. Like, you can interpret the norm in different ways, as I already told you. But that's my opinion, that Hikaru can and is eligible to play. I think that what Kramnik is saying is driven by his own vendetta to Hikaru, because Kramnik has a grudge definitely here. What do you think, guys? Write it in the comments. If this video was informative, please hit the like button and support the channel with your comment. And see you in the next one. Are you excited about the candidates, by the way? Are you rooting for Hikaru? Maybe write it in the comments. Or maybe you're rooting for Kramnik, then please also let me know that you exist. See you in the next one, guys. Bye bye.